magic of the Cybernet Space Cube, the computer-enhanced podcast of the future. Transformers Slag Podcast.
What up, everybody? How we all doing this Saturday night? What a beautiful Saturday night it is. This is the Transformers Slag Podcast. You're stuck with me for the next 2 hours to talk about the robots in disguise. My name is Proto-Man. This is the face that runs this place. This is the voice you hear Monday to Friday. And now you got to look at this face. Saturday night. I apologize. How we all doing? So, we're going to talk Transformers like we always do. We're going to cover the news, some updates. We got a New York Comic-Con weekend. We had some pre-orders on the Walmart Collector Con. We have some new information from BMAC, from Hasbro Marketing about what's going to be happening. Next week, we have a big Transformer convention. So I will not be here next Saturday. I will be at TFcon in Orlando, but we'll get into that later tonight. And all that stuff going on for people that will be at Orlando. Be sure to swing by, but we'll cover all that later today too. What's up, everyone? Let's see, who do we got in the chat today of the YouTube members and the patrons? We got Link CW, we got Michael Butcher's back, we got Timmy K. Point Dexter, Rodimus Power Unboxing, Cringe McCringle, gotta love the Cringe McCringle. Patrick Brown, we got Will Murphy, Roman is back too, Abraham is back, Sheriff is back, T-Formers 2002, which I believe is also a patron. Who else is here? Orlando Chavez is here. We got some new ones here too. What do we got here also? We also got Tiblet. We got Bigums. We got a whole bunch of people. I hope I didn't miss anybody. I hope I didn't miss anyone. Everyone's slowly coming in. Billy B, one of our patrons, also is here. Awesome. So, we're going to cover news. Got some cool stuff. I actually, because TFcon is next week in the States, I temporarily crossed the border because I had to do some business and stuff, get some money ready and everything to then do my big trip, my big return to the United States since the Big V. It's amazing. I used to go multiple times a year, traveling all over, and then the Big V ruined all of that. I used to do that like since 2001. Imagine. Ruined the record. Anyways. So I'm going to show some cool stuff that I also picked up, P.O. Box stuff, to cover some news. We'll take some super chats, of course, from the fans, and then some. So let's jump into it, shall we? And again, if you have anything you want to say or comment, super chat away. So, bam! Let's start with, Mark Mayer and his Instagram account posting this little interesting image. So, he worked on the Magnus Armorizer Infernac Universe Deluxe class figure. And that was a thing that he did with Ajima-san. And they were playing with ideas of different colors and stuff. And I love that he's like, this is what potentially we could see in the future, which is totally, and you can tell by the rock that's in the corner there. And I'm going to pull up the real one here. It's clearly Sticks and Stones, which is one of the original Rock Lord characters, oddly enough, voiced by Peter Cullen and Frank Welker, was both the different heads. And here's the original toy. I'll just bust the original toy out just because you gotta love it. I love how they painted the claws differently, the face is different color, no equal synergy there. And this one was Frank Welker. This one was Peter Cullen's voice. He had Optimus and Megatron in one body. And they might be doing a if Mark gets his way, we'll get a retool and a repaint of Magnus into a Sticks and Stones homage with a very Castle Grayskull kind of stomach going on there. Pretty crazy stuff. I'm very excited about this. Just because I love GoBots, I love Rock Lords, I love Machine Robo, which where all this stuff came from. So I'm just so excited about this stuff. Oh, we got a super chat already, very early. Joseph Ritter. Love you, Joseph. How you doing, brother? With the $5 super chat. I know you love Beast Wars. That's an understatement. But since the movie tanked and the toys are piling up in discount stores, should Hasbro maybe stick with G1? Well, clearly, Rise of the Beasts didn't find its mark as a movie. But according to Hasbro, and this is according to them, I personally, and I'll agree with you, I've seen differently from my own two eyes, but according to Hasbro, while the movie did underperform heavily, the toy sales were fine. Now, they said the toy sales were fine. Does that refer to, all the toys? Does that refer to the Rise of the Beast toys? You also have to quantify it. Like, what if only the Rise of the Beast toys that sold well were Optimus Primes and Bumblebees and Nightbirds, as opposed to Primals, Cheetors, and Air Razors? So it's something where we don't have the specifics, but I mean, I'll be honest with you, when I go to my Walmarts and Toys R Us's and I go to them weekly, the Rise of the Beast section and the Earthspark stuff is still pretty packed. Now, granted, Rise of the Beast is a movie line, so retailers buy a lot of stock, and they also have end caps and advertising, so I could expect that being a little overstocked. But I do agree with you, it was a little much, even though I enjoyed the movie. Um, I think that Hasbro always works in an 18-month cycle. So if something underperforms, they can't react to it, and we don't see that reaction until 18 months later. It's not like, oh, Rise of the Beast doesn't do well, and then next wave, we're going to see the reaction to that. It takes them 18 months to make that pivot, and then maybe another couple months before that then makes it to retail. Like if they go, oh wow, Rise of the Beast underperformed in, let's say they make that decision in October of this month. They decide, you know what, Rise of the Beast didn't do well. We got to pivot. It's going to take them 18 months of development and planning of new product, and then revealing it to us, and then it being shipped out and being to stores before we actually get that reaction. So usually an 18-month cycle. So there will be a pivot. They will do something different. What that is, we don't know. I mean, we have the Transformers 1 movie, which is next year. So that's already under that 18 months. At least we believe, unless they move the date around again. So there's something where maybe the success of the animated movie might be a new direction. They still have other planned product to put out. Clearly, the choice to go back to Generation 1 reissues, which we'll get into in a moment because it's part of the news, the movement to go back to Generation 1 reissues was due to the heavy underperformance of Beast Wars reissues. I was saying it myself. And again, you just said it yourself in your comments, Joseph. I love Beast Wars to death. But, when you're buying a 100% complete Iguanus reissue for $14.99 full MSRP, and you could probably buy that same Iguanus from a convention for $14.99 MSRP, and it's the 25-year-old one. Some of them they just didn't make sense. Some of those reissues were very overpriced. A lot of them ended up in deep discount stores. Anyone who's been going to Ollie's have been seeing, like, what was it, like the 10 to $14.99 Optimus Primal and Megatrons that were originally like $50. There was a few little mistakes there. I think it was too soon to reissue Beast Wars stuff. G1 stuff were fragile. When the first G1 reissues started hitting, let's say, like they started hitting in 2001, 2002 from Takara's side, not even the reissues of the commemorative just yet from Hasbro, but just the Takara side in 2001. G1 was coming up on a 20-year-old brand, and those toys were fragile. There wasn't a lot of them in the secondary market that survived. It wasn't a collector market back then in the early 80s to mid 80s. So there wasn't as many, mint complete Prowls or G1 Optimus Primes with their fists or guns. So it was a different time. But Beast Wars came out in the mid to late 90s, where speculator boom, people took care of their toys, people kept stuff in the box. I mean, it's still not uncommon to find carded, original Beast Wars run stuff from 95, 96, 97. I have plenty of it myself, just because there was just so much of it in the secondary market, even in the 2000s, and people were getting rid of it. I remember, oh gosh, I think it was Eaton Center, which I don't know if you guys have that in the States, but the Eaton Center had carded basic class Beast Wars 1997 drill bits, like a whole bunch of them for $5 each in 2008, I think it was. I bought them all, and then I brought them to a local convention and sold them at a profit, so there were so many of them. So I don't think they should have done Beast Wars reissues. And if they would have done Beast Wars reissues, I think it should have been stuff that was localization rare. And what I mean by that is you reissue Lio Convoy, you reissue Big Convoy. Might be common in Japan, but not so common in America. So people get an opportunity at stuff that wasn't local there. Black Panther, stuff that made, but then, then it's like, oh, but people want to buy, I don't know, what do you call it? Pterosaur for the 50th time. Pterosaur is another one. Why would you buy reissue Pterosaur when you could probably buy a complete one for a comparable value off of eBay, or at a convention? It is what it is. So that's just kind of my take. I think they're going to go in a different direction, personally. I hope I didn't go off on too much of a rant on that, but I do agree with you. I think that the return to G1 is probably a given at some point, or at least we're going to see. Let's see what the reaction is to Unicron trilogy. Look at everything that's in Legacy United, where it's all anything but G1, and it's a little bit of Unicron trilogy, a little bit of RED, a little bit of Beast Wars. Let's see how that reacts, and then we'll see. But yeah, let's get back into it. And thank you for the super chat, Joseph. So yeah, Sticks and Stones, we might be getting him. So stay tuned for that. Again, Mark always posts updates and stuff, but it was something that really intrigued me, and not a lot of people talked about it, because it was just like, oh man, like we could get some more Rock Lords, that'd be great. And when you think about it, because here's the list. Here's the list pretty much. So we know about Boulder Crash. That was that motorcycle rock-based kind of Infernac universe character, not an armorizer because it doesn't break apart, but that's a core class. We know that one for Wave 1. If we jump to the deluxes for a moment, there's our Magnius. That's our Rock 1 Deluxe. But then we also have a core class, another one, a Rock 2, and two other deluxe class armorizer Infernac rock characters. So we have at least three more, at least for now, that we know in the time being. Oh, it's Roman's birthday. Awesome stuff. Happy birthday, Roman. Awesome stuff. Sorry, I missed that. I didn't see it in the chat. I'm so distracted. But yeah, awesome stuff. So getting back to this, so we do have, we have other rocks in the pipeline. Could the repaints be part of that? And we also have to remember what this list that we're looking at the list for the actual Legacy United line. What if they take these molds and repaint them in the Buzzworthy Bumblebee stuff? What if they take these molds and repaint them in the Starseekers subline, which is one of the rumors? That one of them is going to be a repaint of in the Starseekers subline by Walmart. That's going to be coming out in, I believe it's February or June of 2024. So there's plenty of meat on the bone with these guys, and I'm really curious to see how much they get repainted, because the Junkions is one thing. Those guys are going to be repainted like crazy at some point too. Not to mention they're already an army builder within themselves. And then even the modulators before that, we already saw a whole bunch of repaints and retools of the fossilizers, even Generation Select stuff. What was that? Trichranicus, something like that. So we're definitely going to see that. We're definitely going to see a lot more of it. So there's going to be, I want to see Nugget. I want to see Marble. I want to see, Boulder done proper, like old school Boulder. I want to see all of that done from the Rock Lords. Crystal, all of them. Next up, we have the Megatron that we talked about. I heavily suggest, I can't do it justice right here. Go check out my individual segment that I did about this. I kind of explained the whole timeline and history of this, the design, and how we ended up at this point, but what it really means in a lot of ways for Studio Series moving forward. We got we got finally a look at what Megatron would have looked like in the Bumblebee movie, aka maybe even if you appeared in Rise of the Beasts. And this is interesting because it opens it up to other stuff. I know that Mark and Evan have talked about where Studio Series is already kind of going in that direction with Gamer Edition, with doing stuff that's non-movie appearing characters but fall under that movie subset emblem. So like we might get some toy only movie toys, like all of those Cyclops based characters that were video game based movie toys, like Swindle and Drop Kick, but the OG Drop Kick. There was a Drop Kick before the Drop Kick. There was a lot of them. So it'd be pretty cool to see, like, I'm surprised that, they haven't even gone with some of the more deeper cuts of movie. Like, where's our Mountain Dew bot? whatever he was called there. Where's our Mountain Dew bot? Where's him? Where's all the others? I think it was gosh, what was his name? Because he had two different names. He had his robot hero had one name. I think it was called Dispensor. I think it was Dispensor. I think that was the robot hero, and then the Japanese one, which I have that one, which is fragile today, which is such a shame. Gray plastic syndrome. Never thought that would be a thing. But anyways, cool stuff. I'm so excited about this. This is just the test shot that we see right now. I'm pretty sure we're going to see much more of this, but just judging by like the shoulder veneering, look at the shoulders, look at the art that's on the right. There clearly is that connection there. So there's going to be some stuff going on for sure, and we're going to see more of it. And very excited, very excited. What's up, Larry? Very excited. And then, of course, this comes from Walmart Collector Con, and this was also sent to us from the Hasbro PR people. But the pre-orders are up now. If you do want to get these are the Walmart Collector Con exclusives that also will be available at Walmart in person. The 40th anniversary reissues. This is the direction that they're now moving with the reissues. Again, 18-month reaction period. That very first wave of Beast Wars reissues, which was Cheetor, Rat Trap, Optimus Primal, and Megatron, they did not do well. They sold quite poorly, and Hasbro had time to react and pivot. And I mean, my goodness, the wall of Rat Trap reissues. I wish I saved that picture from last year's Black Friday. There was a Black Friday photo that someone posted. And you know how like Walmart, they have like those giant, like humongous bins that they put DVDs in and stuff in the electronic section? They had something exactly like that, but filled only with rat traps. And it was insane. And I wish I kept that photo because it really like summarized it all. Already sold out online, these two. Wow. Well, these will be available on. I'm surprised they're sold out, to be honest, considering how poorly Blaster did initially when he was reissued. And yeah, I get it. He comes with the cassette now and a different paint scheme and a much more fancier kind of 40th anniversary box. But I think it also sold out because I mean, I don't know what the percentages are that Hasbro Pulse gets for their website. I remember something along the lines they get 10% of all manufactured. So like if they made, for just easy math, if they made 100 units of something for Walmart, they get 10 of them to put on their website, but obviously it's not 100, it's probably 10,000 or, 20,000 units. So, or was it 5%? Something like, I remember, I think it was before Mark and Evan. I think it was like John Warden talked about that. He said like how much there is. Blaster isn't sold out. Of course. Thank you. That's what I thought because, like I said before, the Blaster 2-pack makes sense in terms of value because the original reissue of Blaster was $50 and you only got one cassette. It was Buzzsaw. This one is $45. It's $5 cheaper in a post-inflation world, and you get both cassettes, and it's the better two cassettes, in my opinion, in terms of like notoriety, and it's the better paint scheme. So like that was actually a savings. The Blaster, yeah, I get it. You get the better paint and you actually get a cassette this time, but he wasn't selling at $30 that initial reissue. He wasn't selling at $20. The deep discount on him was crazy. And Blaster's my one, the first Transformer toy I ever owned. I have a personal love for that character. I still want to own this, in all honesty. I would love to own this mint in box and just keep it because he was my first Transformer. It'd be cool to have like a 40th anniversary celebration of, again, one of the characters that started my entire collecting career of Transformers. But my goodness, I don't know how they're going to pull it off at 45 for Blaster. I really don't. But hey, if he goes on clearance or something, I'll slide right in. I'll buy two of them. I'll buy two of them, no problem. But yeah, they're 45 right now. Again, according to people in the chat here, Soundwave is already sold out, but they will show up in Walmart retail. So depending on where you live, you'll probably get an opportunity out up at Bat 2 at some point. So check that out. Next up, let's get to the next one here. So we have New York Comic Con this weekend, and we didn't have too much reveals, but we did talk about it early this week, and it was Super 7, their booth. They had stuff on display. And now we have some nicer photos. They actually put out some official press release photos now outside of just the photos that we had from the booth that Tony Bacala took. And it's the Super Cyborg stuff, the Optimus Prime, and the Megatron, a clear Optimus, and a goodbye Megatron, which is pretty much Megaplex Megatron with the blue accents. So those are available. Those are going to be $85 each. I believe the goodbye Megatron is already up for pre-order on the website. I didn't check if the pre-orders for the Optimus are. I think they are too. But so if you are interested in these, they're a throwback to the Henshin Cyborg stuff back in the day. So it's something if you're more from that early Takara era kind of, late 70s Takara style and design, that stuff is cool for you. They also did, of course, the Super Shoguns, which are the Shogun Warrior Jumbo homages. Those are $350. Again, it's Super 7 is a very specific market of collectors. They aim a little more expensive, not for the, let's say, typical Transformer collector that buys at retail. So, and again, it's a very specific kind of thing. So we will see. We will see. But if you're interested in those are up right now. I'm surprised they haven't done Sound Blaster yet because they have a Soundwave one that they also have out there and a Bumblebee one. But like I said, they can only react too quickly to how these things do. And last but not least, from New York Comic Con was this hot mess that I apologize for my video that I posted yesterday, but I was so disappointed by how crazy the numbers were for this thing. So this is part of the Funko booth. They had a lot of different exclusives. And look, I like Funko when they do cool stuff. And they have done cool stuff in the past, Funko. Their Savage Land stuff or whatever, Savage Age, whatever it was called, with the Street Fighter stuff, with Son of Zorn. Those were cool. All their basketball stuff that's done through their Gold Legend label, that stuff is cool. But Funko Pop and Transformers is just such a weird marriage. And then when you go the extra layer and you do Freddy Funko as Soundwave, I don't know. I don't know. And again, hey, if you like it, that's cool. But I'm just going to have a commentary on what people are paying for this thing. Now, keep in mind, there's two versions of this that are available right now at New York Comic Con. There is the regular version, which is the one that you're seeing right now and the ones that sold here. And then you have the metallic version. The regular version, there's 4,000 units made, 4,000 pieces. You even see it on the label there in orange. And then the metallic version, which was a rare chase, which there's 500 of those. Now, just this 4,000 unit made Freddy Funko cosplaying as Soundwave is going between $300 and $250 on eBay. These are sold listings, by the way, as of yesterday. Now, I want you to keep in mind, people, and one of the conversations we always have on this podcast is being good to your wallet, taking care of your wallet, being smart with your money. Do you know what $250 to $300 gets you as a Transformer collector if you somehow were forced to spend that money on our hobby? You could get a Masterpiece Soundwave. You could get a Masterpiece Soundwave and the cassettes. You could probably get yourself a decent, like any of the Titan classes. Almost any of them at this point. Like it's ridiculous what's going on here and the FOMO that exists, but at the same time, whatever. But it's so silly. It really is. So but again, we always report all the news. So I'm going to report new Transformer product, and this is new Transformer product, but I'm also going to give my opinion on them. And I still think it's kind of silly. $300, I'm going to go buy me a Masterpiece Rhinox, sir. And I'm going to take the leftover money from that Masterpiece Rhinox and go get myself some other great action figures. You know what I mean? Imagine, which would you rather? You could be the most G1 of G1 fans. Like Truck Not Monkey, I hate Beast Wars. And I guarantee if you gave a guy a choice between this and Masterpiece Rhinox, they'd still take Masterpiece Rhinox. And even if they hate Beast Wars, that's literally how silly this is. But hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. And like always with a lot of these Funko exclusives, the moment it cools down, a lot of these speculators, they get stuck with them, and then the people who freaked out, who spent the 300, that's their deal. But afterwards, then you get stuck with them. Funko is going through a lot of weird times right now. I know a lot of conventions that are just trying to unload on their inventory, and this is just anomaly more than anything else. So it is what it is. Again, if you're into Funko, hey, more power to you. But yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, and then of course, Ben BMAC from Hasbro Marketing, pretty much mark this down on your calendar, people. 10/27. That's October 27th, the Friday, not next week, the week after that will be the next live stream from Hasbro head office. 10/27 is also the address of Hasbro HQ on Newport Avenue. And they're going to be they're not just covering Transformers, it's going to be all the brands, some brand new updates, some brand new, releases. From what Ben said, we're probably going to get all of our studio series stuff mentioned during 10/27. That's kind of the goal. We might even get a little bit of updates on some HasLab stuff. We will see. Historically, last year on 10/27, they gave an update on our HasLab Victory Saber, as well as they did I think it was also, we got a reveal for Deathsaurus during 10/27. So, you know, they're a good opportunity to show us new product. So I'm sure we'll see a lot of cool stuff in 2 weeks from now. But just mark that down on your calendar. Friday, we don't have a time, but I believe it's going to be 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So check that out. 10/27 Hasbro Premium, Hasbro Pulse live stream on Hasbro's channel. Check them out. Sponsor of the segment. And that's it more or less for news. It was a quiet week. I mean, we're still in New York Comic Con. There was a panel for Earthspark, but not much was really said in it that caught my eye that was worth reporting. I'll have to probably go through the meeting minutes, as we call it, the script, and see if there was anything that was said that might be worth mentioning, some in between the line stuff. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe Sunday we'll see some stuff that'll be brought out too into display cases. But so far, nothing. Nothing really. That's a big surprise right now. So we'll cover the sponsors, and then we'll talk about some cool stuff that we got just this day, this week, and everything. A lot of cool stuff, and then we will. What do you call it? We'll we'll take some super chats from the peeps, and then we'll just enjoy the rest of the evening together from all the people. So first again, and this is going to be present at TFcon next week also. Symbiot Studios, the plush, the pins, and t-shirts. I'm rocking my Catnip Bravo shirt and pin. And you can probably see there's Catnip over there with Unicron chilling. But yeah, so we're going to be bringing over to TFCon. I have already allocated a small little spot in the glass case for some Symbiot Studio stuff. I think I'm going to bring the Slag. Here, let me pull up the slide. I'm going to bring the Slag on display. I know I'm going to be bringing the Megazord T-Rex Dinozord. I'm going to be bringing that one on display. Some of the pins. I think I have space for the Primal also. So we're going to have a few of those on display. So if you've never seen Symbiot Studio product in person, you want to see how big those are, they will be at TFCon in the glass display to show off to you guys. So that'll be there with all the other Transformer products and stuff. New product for the future. We got another super chat from Joseph Ritter for $2. Thoughts on the new comic? It's too early to tell. I mean, here's how I kind of look at it. I have the Void Rival books up until issue 3 I've read. I believe it's 3 I've read up to. And then the first issue of the Skybound Transformer book. If I use that as a whole of what I've read thus far, liked what I read with Void Rivals thus far, but I'm already 3 issues in. The new comic, it's too early to tell. I have the same feeling when I read the very first Dreamwave book, not Dreamwave, IDW book. I think it was what was it? Retaliation, Escalation, whatever. Escalation, I think it was the very first one. You're just kind of getting the ball rolling. You know, um, I know a lot of people. Again, I don't want to talk too much about it because it's still pretty fresh, and a lot of people haven't read the books yet. But a lot of people are saying they want Megatron. They want to have Megatron in the book, and they felt that his absence. I don't really share that sentiment. I kind of feel that it's always good to let other characters grow, and I think that the less there is of a Megatron or even an Optimus presence, even though he's there too, but um, less of that, more for the other characters to grow. I mean, no offense to Optimus Prime, but that is not a character that you could write deep growth stories for. We've done it so many times that I'm pretty sure no one could reinvent the wheel at this point. Where I rather get a deep cliff jumper story or RC than another Optimus Prime story. And it's not like we're not going to get Optimus Prime stories from Transformers 1, and everywhere else. So I think that's something where we'll definitely, hopefully, not get more of that. But we will see. We will see. But I like what I've read thus far. I'm not, I guess, insulted by it, but at the same time, it's still too early to tell anything else. I mean, there's a lot of Transformer books I've read and I went, waste of time. I can't have that opinion yet until I have a couple more books. It's very hard to judge comic books unless they are written to be standalone stories in their 21 to 28 issues, which a lot of comics today aren't. They're almost planned to be in a trade paperback format, and you're just reading one chapter of that. It's the same way, where you would just kind of, it's one of those things where you're just reading one chapter, and if you read a book and you only read one chapter, you wouldn't be able to write a review of the whole book, and it's kind of the same thing. I think when I'm going to be like 6 issues or 4 issues in, I'll be able to kind of give a better opinion. Because like Void Rivals, I'm 3 issues in, and I like that. I like how that is, and that's not like a heavy Transformer leaning book. There's Transformer elements in that, and I like how that has been thus far. David Cabal with the $2 super chat. Who would Optimus Prime's Justice Chojin be? So you're referring to Kaniku Man. Might as well pull Kid Muscle here off. There you go. My magnetic Kid Muscle figure that I put on my microphone there. Who would Optimus Prime be? I would have to say a post, Chojin Olympics version of Robin Mask, maybe. You have to be someone who's very like, clean cut, good for justice kind of thing. I mean, it's always easy to say like, like Terry Man, but even though he's America, he's a little too America. Terry Man is more Ironhide, if anything. And who would Hot Rod be? I don't know, Geronimo. That's one. I'm already losing people. But like, why are we talking about Kaniku Man? Because David Cabal is on a Kaniku Man blitz, and he's loving it. And good for him. I can't wait till he gets to the Race for the Throne arc. That's the best stuff. That's when it gets really good. And then the animation budget gets bumped up to 90s animation style. Thank you for the super chat, David. I'm going to go with Robin Mask. I'll have to go with him. Just because all the others, like, you can't say Kaniku Man. He's too cowardly. Kaniku Man is like, gosh, who in Transformers would be Kaniku Man? Like Rat Trap, I guess. Even Rat Trap's more, yeah, Ultimate Muscle. That's what it was called in America. It was called Muscles in, actually, here, I have an actual muscle nearby. It was called Muscles in America in the 80s, and then Ultimate Muscle when they did the Kaniku Man second line. This is the magnetic foot one, so every time you're going to hear that cling sound on the microphone. Because I have my ruin the mic. So yeah, I have him and one of the Microman guys chilling on top of my microphone there. So I like to keep them up there. They don't move. I can move my microphone all over the place. They never fall. It's nice strong magnets. Julio Ramos, welcome as a Minicon recruit. Thank you for joining, brother. Ask away questions, all you like. Obviously, the super chats, I'm going to get priority right now until we finish everything. But yeah, Terry Man and Ironhide for sure. Paul with the $5 super chat. He wants to know if some G1 fans eventually enjoyed Beast Wars, did they continue with the Unicron trilogy or did they age out? Well, I mean, that's kind of hard to say. I experienced that in real time. When Beast Wars was out, all you had was kids who were first getting into Transformers because of Beast Wars. Like, to give you, I'm an old man, so no surprise. When Beast Wars came out, I was already 14 years old. So I was already in high school. Beast Wars had come out. So I grew up on G1, I grew up on G1, and I was open-minded to Beast Wars. Oh, someone just gifted a whole bunch of memberships. Bigum, thanks for all the memberships to everybody. The first guy, D-Spick, Quaggy, Y, Megatron Fangirl. Oh, a whole bunch. Whoa. Good stuff. Thank you. Thank you for gifting to all those people. They're going to love it. Good job, Bigum. But sorry, I'm getting all over the place. We get back to your question, Paul. I experienced that firsthand, and I saw, especially because I also had the internet back then, back in 96, I'd have to say, when I was really active. 95 was when I got it, but in the online fandom, it was 96 when I was active with the TF fandom. And a lot of them were, either older fans, because kids didn't really use the internet back then. It was very rare. So yeah, like if a guy like me who was 14, I grew up on late G1, early G2, so I already had a connection to that. And Beast Wars was just the next step of it. And as someone who really enjoyed Batman the Animated Series and a lot of other well-written shows, and because I was Canadian and enjoyed Reboot, Beast Wars, which was from the creators of Reboot, I was going to love it. It was going to be good, well written stuff. Transformers, I wasn't going to have like that mentality. Oh, the old stuff is better than the new stuff. So, and then you did have the older G1 guys back then that didn't like Beast Wars. Truck not monkey. Oh, Optimus Prime is so much better than Optimus Primal. A truck is better than a monkey. Oh, the 86 movie is so much darker and cooler. But let's be real. I mean, when you look at Beast Wars, it is overall the better written show, but it has the advantage of being a 90s cartoon that came out in the wake of Batman the Animated Series and X-Men, which kind of wrote the 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 script on how to make a good written show and still be able to sell toys. You could be a half-hour commercial, but still not have to dumb it down to your audience and still write something really good. So we will see. We will see. Link CW, the Comic Con exclusive slipstream you saw online is actually a TFcon exclusive next week. That's what you're probably seeing. Done by Fan Toys, if I remember correctly. I'm going to get into that when we talk about when we talk more about TFcon, because it's going to be a TFcon week next week. But yeah, so I hope that kind of answers that. I mean, afterwards, like the people who were into G1, who were then watching Beast Wars, they did naturally look at Unicron Trilogy. And just like Beast Wars, when Unicron Trilogy came out, specifically Armada, there was the guys that were like, oh, this is the worst thing ever. This is the end of Transformers. It's amazing how at one moment they were like, oh, Beast Wars is terrible. Go back to the vehicles. And they said Beast Wars was badly written. The characters were terrible. When Armada came out, I'll be honest with you, Armada goes back to vehicles, and the writing in Armada is no better, if better, and better animated than G1 was. So, if anything, the G1 guys got exactly what they wanted, and they still weren't happy, a lot of them. And speaking of Armada, I feel like I channeled him like some kind of Ouija board. What's up, Aaron? Aaron Archer in the house. We'll talk about you in a moment because you got some new stuff to show off too, about especially for next week. So that's kind of, I think that they gravitated to that. Some people got aged out. Some people, they just quit the hobby because they just stopped collecting. I think also, but Transformers is such a rotating hobby. New guys come in, some stay, some leave. Then more people come in, some guys stay, some leave. You have the lifers like me that have been around pretty much since the beginning. There's quite a few of us, but there is a lot of people that they do get out of it, and they quit, or they get burned out, or they get aged out. uh if you were a kid who was 5 years old watching Beast Wars, you were already like hitting 10, 11 when Armada came out, and by the time the movies came out, you were in your late teens, early 20s. So then you maybe had nostalgia for it. So, and it's a different world today. Aging out with toys is a little different than it was back then. It's kind of a different animal. Today, kids don't even grow up with toys. They grow up with smartphones and video games. So having nostalgia for toys is almost going to be a weird rarity now. It's kind of like finding kids that grew up in even the 90s that have nostalgia for Hot Wheels. Like there's very few kids that like have nostalgia for die-cast cars. Hot Wheels survives because of an older market. And I think the same thing's going to happen with action figures over time anyhow. David Cabal, what did he say? He said something. I blame Protoman for getting me into these anime. I apologize. I always have recommendations. If you ever want to get recommendations of good stuff, I always have stuff that I enjoy. Always do. Michael with the $5 super chat. What would you predict for new Beast Wars Neo releases? Will we get a big convoy? I would imagine, like, Evan really likes Optimus Primes. Like, he's someone that's like, I see in his mind, uh, Evan Brooks specifically from Hasbro Design. Like, he wants to do like every Optimus Prime design modernized. And right now he really wants to do Fire Convoy, aka Robots in Disguise 2001 Optimus Prime, but I'm pretty sure him and Mark were probably behind getting Lio Convoy, aka Lio Prime out there. I'm pretty sure Big Convoy is going to come out at some point. Big Convoy almost seems like that could be a leader class. Like, if you could really, like, because you want to have the extra parts and pieces to do the Matrix thing properly, to do the big cannon properly. I could see him being like a small leader class, and that it could have the budget done properly on that. So I could see a big convoy happening. And again, because of the way those two function and what they push for to the Takara guys and go back and forth, that's definitely something that I could see them. They always want to do leader characters. And a big convoy is another excuse to top end align with a leader character, with an Optimus Prime looking character. I don't know if they'll call him Big Prime, whatever they'll want to translate the name into, but I could totally see it happening for sure. For sure. For sure. Let's make sure we don't got any more super chats, and then we can get back to just doing the sponsors. We didn't even get through them. We had so many questions, but throw your super chats if you're out there, people. So again, Symbiot Studios, as we tried to do. They're gonna have their stuff at TFcon on display. We'll have some plushes and pins and everything to check that out, yo. So that'll be all on display. Of course, pick up the Primal that's out right now. The SDCC Slag is on their website, symbiotstudios.com. If you haven't gotten that one yet. Of course, the Power Ranger stuff. There's the QR code to take you to the Power Ranger one. And of course, in the near future for 2024, we will be having a Ultra Magnus. The Ultra Magnus will not be on display at TFcon. That is not in the final stages yet, but you will see some other stuff in person. So you could check it out and see how they look and how big they are and everything. So pretty cool. And of course, all the rest and many more to come. A lot of others in the pipeline. So be sure to stay tuned for that. We'll have them all ready for you in the near future, and you'll hear about it first, my people. You'll hear about it first. And of course, all the other Hasbro ones, Power Rangers, My Little Pony, pins and everything like that. Magic the Gathering, Power Ranger pins, G.I. Joe, the works, the works. And Seats. Just going to give Seats a quick shout out too, might as well. They're always been good to me too. Where am I? I have so many slides open. And Seats. I'm going to give them a shout out too because they're always been good to me. Check out Seats. Promo code Protoman, 15% off seats. A lot of good stuff there. Get a nice chair. Sit on Optimus Prime's face. One shall stand, one shall fall. Have a good one with that one. And let's talk about Aaron Archer, because next week. So first of all, this week coming up, we're going to have a new episode of the Toy Armada with Aaron Archer. I'm almost done the editing on that one, just doing the final touch-ups on it. So expect a brand new episode before this week is up of TFcon. Well, coming up for TFcon. So before next Friday for sure, you will have a new episode of the Toy Armada with Aaron Archer. TF related, really good one. Pretty sure you guys will dig that. But speaking of Aaron Archer, again, he will be at TFcon next week. I might as well just mention it. So he will be at TFcon next week. He will have a booth at TFcon. So if you are interested in any products from archermonster.com or Aaron Archer's website, just wait to pick it up from Aaron there. It'll save you the trouble with the shipping and everything. And then you can meet him, maybe buy some other extra stuff from him. He'll always have little doodads and this and that. I'm sure Aaron will chime in the chat here and let you know what he's bringing. But the Art of Transforming Robots Volume 2 will definitely be something that will be there. Pick that up. $20, $15 to get you an extra nice little sketch. My Ugly Mug will be at the booth too. You could hang out with me and Aaron at his booth, check out some cool stuff, pick up some nice art. What other art could it be? Last call before TFcon. So these are the ones that are on his website right now. The ones that are not sold here will be brought to TFcon. And I guarantee, guys, these will disappear at TFcon because Aaron was not able to keep any of these on his table for 5 seconds. Aaron could speak for that. So if there's anything that you're looking at here that you're interested in, grab it now, because when it goes to TFcon, it's going to be gone. I guarantee that. He is not coming back with these. Someone's going to buy these for sure. So these are on archermonster.com/shop. Check it out. Last call. Last call before TFcon next week. Aaron will be there with all his cool stuff. There'll be a panel. We'll have a nice panel. You could guys check that out too. Nice little panel. I guess I'll be there. I don't know. I'll see how that goes down, but I just know for sure I will be at Aaron's booth. Check that out. We'll be rocking out with the robots in disguise. Come swing by, pick up some art and everything like that. And also, gonna try to, no promises yet, I'm gonna try to have a second run of these ready to go of the Optimus Prime for the con. I'll see what happens. I still have a week or so to plan stuff and everything. Hopefully the stock arrives in time, kind of have it fast tracked over here. Aaron says here, I'm bringing like 200 instruction sheets to do TFcon paintings. Oh my goodness. If anything, oh, and then he just retracted. Aaron, what are you doing? So you type that and then you retract it? I just read it now. Now it's out there in the ether. So what did you mean to say? Anyways, I guess that means people have options. Maybe. I don't know. That's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy. Like it's, but the point is that definitely swing by his booth. He's gonna have a lot of. Oh, here we go. I'm bringing like 200 instruction sheets to paint on during the con. There you go. Yeah, well, that's what we did last time. You were painting them, putting them out there, and people were buying them instantly. They wouldn't even before they could even dry. They were already out there. I remember I was like blowing on them a lot of times, like just like put them out there. They were all disappearing very quickly. They're amazing, guys. When you see them in person, the photos don't do them justice. I wish you guys can't see it, unfortunately, because it's all the way on my other wall with all the autographs and stuff. But they're like, the auto like actually, let me grab. Do I have? No, I have some nearby. Here we go. So like imagine so like this one here. Actually, I think he did one like exactly of this. So this is depth charge. So you would have like a depth charge one, and then you'd have depth charges art, and depending on the figure, some are larger. I know Evan and Mark. I was talking with them recently, and they were actually going like, man, they want some now too. So like even do like on like the planet key ones and the planet maps. You know, I know Evan was like, oh, that'd be cool to get one on an Optimus or something. But pretty cool stuff. You know, pick your favorites. Evan, if you have two, Evan, bite my tongue. Aaron, if you have 200 of them, then my goodness, you know, it's you're probably gonna have almost everybody at that point. You know, someone's gonna probably like, do you have this specific Omnicon? From Energon. That's crazy. But yeah, last call. Check that all out. There's gonna be a bunch of them. Cringe McCringle with the super chat for $5. Glad to see my instructions put to good use. Keep up the great work, Aaron. Yeah, Cringe sent a whole bunch. I know a lot of people contact me. I think T-Formers 2002 was another one. There was a bunch of people that contacted me to send instructions. So he has a whole bunch. And what he does is he gets them sent and then he flattens them. He actually takes each one of them and he actually flattens it out. So they're actually nice and flat. And, he tries to obviously get rid of all the creases, but he flattens them out to get them ready for you to frame them afterwards or whatever you want to do with them. I know mine's framed. I got mine in a nice frame on display. Nice, good stuff there. Looking good in the hood. No, and now it's clear that we made too many bots. Yeah, well, there you go. Way too many bots. Way too many bots. Yeah, T-Formers, I also remember sent a stack. I remember that. There was a bunch of people. I was telling them, just like, contact them on Instagram if you want to send them stuff. Yeah, James, like, look, it's something where you have to understand, like, a lot of people have just instructions sitting in a folder, or they're sitting in a box, and they're just kind of sitting and wasting away. If you don't want them, and I mean, let's be real, most of them don't really have a market value, you know. So it's something where it's just a cool signature item. It is something like that. But yeah, yeah, good stuff. So the plan is essentially, I will be at TFCon also next week. Again, I'll be at Aaron's booth. Aside from that, I don't know what the other plans are. I'll be arriving, I guess, Friday, and we'll see. I'll play it by ear. I'll play it by ear. I'm just gonna hang out and we'll see what happens. I'm not familiar too much with this Orlando location. It's not the same one that BotCon was at 10 years ago. Oh, 13 years ago, the BotCon Florida location. That was at the Disney site with the Swan Hotel. Is it the Swan Hotel or whatever? The Dolphin Hotel, whatever they called it. You probably remember, Aaron. That was the first year of the Hall of Fame dinner, which was actually, that was pretty cool. The Hall of Fame dinner was awesome. But they actually had a suit and tie, decent meal and everything. But yeah, so let's get into what we got this week. We'll take some more super chats from people and everything and answer some YouTube member questions, which will be the green ones. But so where do I begin? So first things first, across the border. I crossed the border today. Wanted to just get some business done across the border, check out some stores there before I go to the States. I find that little hack for Canadians, if you're listening, if you actually want to get the very best rate for American currency, cross the border and get American currency. I find that's usually the best way to get it, even from your own personal bank. So that's kind of what I did because I needed to have cash before going to the States because cash is king in the dealer room. Yeah, okay, some places will have credit card and stuff like TF Source and Chosen Prime and stuff, but there's going to be some guy who's going to have a really awesome table with just bins and loose figures, and he might not have a one-touch kind of credit card system. And in all honesty, let's be real, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't trust anyone in the dealer room, but for your own safety and for your own credit card safety, sometimes it's just better to work with cash in a dealer room. Yeah, you could trust TF Source in some of the bigger stores, but you never know. And again, I'm not saying the smaller guys are crooks, but you never know. You never know. You might have that one dude that you're tapping your credit card on his whatever it's called, their Square, and it might be something suspect. So it's always safer to just work with cash. That's what I always say. Cash is king at a dealer room. I get it that people want to use credit card. I say my advice always is use the credit card for the exclusives because the exclusives are always done through a reputable store. Use the cash for everything else. And use your credit card for food. Like if you're going to feed yourself and everything, use the credit card for that and use your cash for the dealer room. And I'm telling you, the dealers will prefer it also. A lot of dealers, if you ask them cash or credit, they actually would prefer cash. So it always works out better that way. James Hopkins, yeah, most of Combiner War stuff forward, all in a drawer. Well, dig it up, yo. You never know what you might have in there that might be of interest. You know, you never know. Not to mention all those Combiner War trading cards too and stuff. So anyway, so I crossed the border and I went to Ollie's and Ross and just to check it out. And I got this guy. There was a ton of these. I left them behind. I should have probably maybe picked up more of them, but I was just happy to get one. So this was $8, $7. So this was there. They had two others and then a bunch of other stuff. It wasn't my goal to even find this, but I was like, yay. I was actually going to wait, in all honesty. I was going to wait until they do something else with it, but I was like, hey, that's awesome. So these guys are out there. If you're part of my Patreon and part of my Discord as a result of being part of my Patreon, you would have probably already knew this already. You get all the deals and discounts and updates on my Patreon. Save money on your hobby. And also, when back in Canada, well, there goes that. All of the stuff I got today. Man, I got to go reach all of that after. In Canada, if you go to Dollarama, these are $4 Canadian each. The first wave of Core Class Studio Series, $4 Canadian, which is about $3.05 American. So $3.05 for Ravage and Shockwave. I got to go get everything now. Too much stuff that we picked up. Way too much stuff. Let me just grab some stuff here. There we go. But yeah, so picked up those guys. Those were also pretty cheap. So if you're a Canadian, Dollarama, it's kind of like Family Dollar or Dollar Tree here in Canada. Go check out Dollarama. Core Class Studio Series Wave 1 is available for $4 Canadian, which is really good because if I remember correctly, I think those guys were like 14 bucks USD. Excuse me, 14 bucks Canadian. What was the MSRP on those? 14, I think. So like that's really big savings if you didn't pick up those dudes. So that's really good. Um what else? What else? What else? Just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Uh was gonna send you one. Oh no, what was it gonna send me? Uh Oh, here we go. First guy, Jank says, "How do you exchange Canadian currency once you're in the States?" You go to a bank. You go to a bank. That's my advice as a Canadian is never go to money exchange places. They might be good for weird foreign currency, but if you're a Canadian going to the States, don't go to money exchange guys. You'll never get the best rate. It's always good to go to your personal bank. If you can't go to your personal bank, then I get it, but always go to your personal bank. If you have the opportunity, though, to go to the States and then go to their bank and do an exchange. And chances are, if you're part of TD, there's a lot of big banks that you're part of in Canada, they have an American branch. So you could just open up your smartphone, find the branch, and then go to there. And I find always the exchange is better. It's always better. You always get a better uh, exchange rate. And when I'm doing like big trips like a TFcon where, I'm taking out maybe 4 digits of money, probably, you want to get the best possible rate. Because if you're taking out $1,000 American, let's say, if you're taking out $1,000 American, that, exchange rate, if it's even a 10-cent difference, you're losing 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks, so it's something where always try to like get the best. They were 10 to $11 American, I believe, though, because I think in Canada they were more. I think in Canada they were 14 or something. I know in the States they were cheaper, but that's American currency to Canadian. But yeah, so that's the best way to get your money exchange. If you're an American coming to Canada, it's the same thing. Go to your bank first. You'll get a better rate. Otherwise, if you're crossing the border and if you're part of a bank that has a Canadian equivalent, go to them. You'll get the best rate. Because I always find when you get the exchange in the country of origin, you get a better rate. And this was a piece of advice that I got from my friend who lives in Japan because he would do that all the time. He would buy American money first in Japan and then go to Japan to go to America, and he would see that the rate wasn't as good as opposed to landing in America and doing it. And he always found it was better. And when I tried it out for myself, I was like, oh yeah, pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. Um, but yeah, so it is what it is, yo. It is what it is. Let me see if I missed any other questions. Uh, James says, yeah, Ross changed stock almost daily. Yeah, Ross is all over the place, but so is Ollie's. You kind of have to go all the time and check them out. Um, anyone going to catch the toy that built America tomorrow episode is about Tonka bringing over the GoBots. Oh wow. I hope they got the information right on that because there's a lot of miscommunication with the history of how that came to be. Link CW, so proto question. I have never gone to a con before. How much money should I bring minimum for tickets, exclusives, etc.? So, like I said before, for the exclusives, use your credit card. That's the first thing. Don't waste your cash on the exclusives because you'll be able to use a credit card to get those. As for how much to bring, I mean, everyone is their own person, but I always bring, and this goes all the way back to even BotCons. I always bring $1,000. I could always put it back in the bank, but it's just because you don't want to go to the show, find something you want, and go, okay, I'm going to go take out cash, and all the cash machines are empty. Yes, the hotel has a ATM machine on site, but everyone else is thinking the same way you do. There's always someone that's going to go to that cash machine, take out $400 because they want two exclusives because they're not using their credit card. And then that already gets rid of like 10% of the cash machine's money. Before you know it, that whole machine's empty. According to hotels, they refill it 3 times a day. But when you have 3,000 people at a show and each one of them are thinking about that, you know, you got to, you got to really like, you got to hope. You got to hope. So I always say take the money out beforehand, go to your bank, take it out, and I would bring 1,000. That's just my take. For the exclusives, if let's say you're just buying the exclusives, if you're charging it on your credit card, then you don't have to worry about it. On average, the exclusives are usually $150 to $200 each. On average, there's between 3 and 4 exclusives. So that's really, do you bring $600? Do you bring $900? I don't know. There's so far 2 of them are revealed. There's obviously more that are coming. We will see. But that's I always say $1,000. $1,000 flat. That's the safest way. That way you have that money and you could always put it back. You could always put it back in the bank afterwards. You don't get charged for taking out your money. And if you're part of a bank that charges you for taking out your money, then you shouldn't be part of that bank. You should not be part of that bank at all. That's a terrible bank because they should be rewarding you for the money being there, not for you taking it in and out. But yeah. So also while I was there, I went by a store called Fantastic Planet Comics, hoping to find some old books and stuff like that. They didn't have much, unfortunately. But then again, this is Plattsburgh. It's a smaller town in the state of New York and stuff, and it's right on the border with Montreal. But they did have for $2 a sealed a tactics figure. This is still sealed, that was the most important thing. I don't know which one is in there because they were all, so yay, $2. They only had one. I would have, if honestly, if they had like 5, I would have bought all 5, and then I maybe would have opened one. But I don't have a sealed one, so, and it's actually in pretty decent shape too. Like I was hoping, like I was like, oh man, it's not even yellowed because that's like the old plastisol. Like how old is this? This is, what year was this? 2008. You know, imagine 2008. So they had that $2 American. Picked that up. I picked up a comic too. Always want to support a comic store. Uh, but yeah, got that. Also, what else did I get? One moment. Oh, and then this came in the mail. This one, it was, man, I honestly thought like, so I bought from Limited Run Games. This is the River City Girls Ultimate Edition video game set. So you get the video game, an art book, and 2 SH figure art level figures of the girls, kind of the glosses, kind of making it hard to see there. But River City Girls, the River City Ransom game. I pre-ordered this, no joke, back in February of 2022. So it took a year and a half for this to get to me. I understand limited run games, sometimes they take their time with their releases, but my goodness, a year and a half I had to wait for that. That took forever. So I have that, so I'm going to be playing that on the old Nintendo Switch. Excited about that one. Cool action figures too that come with it. So I got that in the mail. And that was it more or less. There wasn't I picked up other little things here and there, but nothing too major. Unfortunately, just little items, little tchotchkes here and there. Nothing else, but it is what it is. It is what it is. But yeah, the Ollie's finds, there wasn't much. Ross had at least the Cosmos. So if you have a Ross near you, go check them out. There's some good deals to be found there. So good stuff otherwise. Where are we at here? Let's see, Link CW. And are the exclusives official Hasbro product or third party? They are third party. All TFcon exclusives are third party. TFcon, in its entire history of doing exclusives, only had a licensed exclusive once, which was in 2006. They had the Hard Heroes, looking at the TFcon display, the Hard Heroes Stealth Cyclonus. That was originally supposed to be an exclusive for another convention, but I think they didn't get it in time, and then TFcon got the stock for it, and that was in 2006. It was a bust of Cyclonus, but done in like shiny colors and stuff like that. And then I took that when I was writing the TFcon comic. I repurposed that into a character named Anarchy, which kind of like sewed the whole TFcon lineage story together back in the day. But it's always third party stuff. There never is official stuff. It's always third party. Always third party. And the two that are available right now, we have an homage to Talon from the UK stuff, uh, early 90s UK jet transformer Talon. And then we have the Make Toys Masterpiece-esque Slipstream. I don't know I don't know what their what do you want to call it? Their third party names are. I never memorized that. To me, it's not Slipstream and not Talon, whatever they are. Where we at? Where we at? Lord Soundwarp. Hey, Proto. It's been a while. What's up, Lord Soundwarp? What's up, Lord Soundwarp? But so yeah, so there's a lot of cool stuff. I'm gonna probably open up that Cosmos at some point in the near future. What else do we got? That was it, more or less. Everything else fell over. I had it all leaning on a cardboard box, unfortunately. But yeah, there wasn't, I'm not going to be buying too much stuff until TFcon, you know? When when TFcon rolls around, there's probably going to be way more stuff to buy and everything. It's been a while since I've been to a United States con, so I'm looking forward to seeing what'll be there. I'm going to be gunning for obscure stuff. I always buy more obscure stuff. Like last TFCon that passed, I was trying to complete my collection of Q Transformers, which are those little transforming licensed car transformers that they did back in the day with the cell phone game. Trying to complete those. What else was I trying to get? Trying to get all kinds of weird stuff. Once in a while, I'm trying to update, some from Japanese G1 stuff, but the prices right now are so ludicrous. It's like I'm not going to spend $2,000 on a Grandis. I don't care how perfect your Grandis is. I'm not going to spend $2,000 on it when I have like muscle memory of seeing like Grandis at like at BotCon 2010 for like $500. I understand inflation. I understand the population shrinks a little bit, but it's out there. It's out there, and there's always going to be people trying to unload. And when they're going to do a Grandis one day, when they'll do an update, the demand for that other Grandis also takes a hit. So that's another thing too to keep in mind. But I always say like definitely manage your money properly. Like, don't go crazy. Like, too many times people go into a dealer room, they right away start making impulse purchases right away off the bat. And then by the time they get to the Sunday, they're broke. And I'll tell you this right now. Here's a little like, life hack when it comes to cons. A lot of dealers, they sometimes don't even put out all their product right away. A lot of especially if they have multiples of a product, like you might like go to a table and go, oh my god, they only have one of these, and they'll have like the one on the table, but under the table they have like 12 of them. And it's something where patience always pays off. On the Sunday, there's always dealers reducing prices. There's always guys going like, oh, they were asking $400 for this big expensive transformer, and it's a big expensive transformer. They don't want to have to go home with it. Now it's 350. It's not 400 anymore. So I get it that there's a FOMO and people have fear of missing out. But outside of like, let's say the exclusives, everything else you could just kind of play it by ear in a lot of ways. Link CW says, so I'm not worried about the exclusives now. I only collect official Hasbro Transformer products, so that saves my wallet. Thank you for the info, Proto. No problem. No problem. Again, the exclusives are there because people, number one, there is third-party collectors. There is people that actively collect third-party stuff. I personally am not one of them. I pick and choose with third-party. If there's like, oh, this is a cool item. Oh, that's, um, I mean, me personally, not so far of the two that are announced, they don't really interest me. I mean, I own the original Talon, and we're gonna get a good Slipstream one day. So, do I need a third party one? No, no, thank you. But at the same time, I understand there is people that love third party. They appreciate the engineering. I know I appreciate the engineering. I think that's really cool, but it doesn't interest me too much. But the one good thing too is it saves people who don't care about third party a lot of money, and they could put that towards buying art, buying official toys. So it works out in the end. Always works out in the end. Lord Soundwarp from doing toy fairs and being at TF Nation. Best time to get deals is, hold on. Why does I hate that the new YouTube now, they always cover stuff here. Uh before people come right into at the con as the con closes. Yeah. Well, that's what always the Sunday. The Sunday is if you have a dealer table that has tons of stuff and it clearly looks like this guy had to spend all of Thursday and Friday just setting up, trust me, he will be very open to deals when it's time to close up. So always when the con is closing, there's always opportunities. There is always opportunities. So, and that's why don't rush it. I get it, people there's always people that are worried, and it makes me laugh because people will pay insane money to get into the dealer room early. Like they'll go, "Oh, if I could get into the dealer room an hour early, I'll pay $50 more." And you'll realize that as someone who's in the dealer room before everyone else is, you're not missing much. Trust me. You really aren't. Because any of like the really crazy deals, like let's say some guy for whatever reason pulled out a vintage Star Saber and had it for $50. I hate to tell you, one of those other dealers, because they're all Transformer dealers in that room, and they all know their prices and they all make money, selling Transformers. If there's a really good deal in that room, it gets bought by one of the other dealers before you guys even get in there. That's something I used to see all the time. So don't worry too much about getting into the dealer room right away for those crazy deals. A lot of those aren't really there. Yeah, you might be that one guy's like, oh, I hope I could get that one so and so before everyone else. Yeah, I could understand it, but I wouldn't stress too much about it. I really wouldn't. The first guy, Jack255, says Bobby Skullface exclusively buys third party. I didn't know Bobby buys only third party. I don't watch his content. I know him in person. We always talk at cons. I know that I had to help him with his table setup at Chicago, I think it was. And I didn't know he was a YouTube content creator. And then and then I see this guy wearing, because he wasn't wearing that mask that he wears. And then he was wearing the mask during the con, and I'm like, why are you dressed as Skullomania from from Street Fighter EX Plus Alpha? Because that's what I knew it from. And then of course Skullman from the Toku stuff. But and then I was like, oh, he's a YouTube creator. Okay. So I didn't know he buys only exclusively third party. That's interesting because I mean to buy exclusively only third party, that's definitely so. Even if like there's a really good masterpiece Hasbro Takara product, he wouldn't buy it. That's interesting. That's really interesting. Lord Soundwarp, I think our table was the first to clear up. Took us a good 20 minutes to clear everything, but setup was 45. Well, if you have boxed items, that's a lot easier to do. If you have big box items, boom, 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 boom. When it's loose figures, that's when you're like, oof. Then you're like, you're setting up everything, and all it takes is one guy to walk by and just knock everything over. The worst ever. My own personal pet peeve, and I say this as a public service announcement for the sake of the other dealers. Don't go to someone's table who has loose figures and just start picking up and transforming them. It's not a playpen. You're playing with their product. They're trying to sell product. And if anything, you're getting your experience without having to buy the toy. It's rude. So I'm just saying that for the dealers. I see that a lot. When it's children, that's fine. But if you're an adult, be respectful to them. They always worry that you're going to break the toy. And have heard of stories where people are messing with the toy and they break it, and all they could say is they're sorry. And then they say, well, now you have to pay for the toy. And then they go, they have no money. Then why were you playing with the toy then if you were never intending of buying it? It creates drama. It creates bad feels. So when you see a table with loose figures, unless you're legitimately thinking of buying it and you want to see the condition and everything, don't play with the toy. I just a little public service announcement for my fellow dealers. I see that way too often. And if it's a 5-year-old kid, I get it. Their parent didn't teach them to not touch people's things, although they should be taught that. Um, but if it's a grown adult, bro, be better. Be better. It'll do you some good. The first guy says, but it's high end for him, no chug. He also rarely replaces third party with Hasbro Takara items. All right, well, that's his call. Everyone has their own convention, their own collection goals. You know, I mean, if he appreciates the engineering and stuff, good on him. And if it's stuff that he enjoys, I mean, look, if there was like, third party items of characters that weren't being done, then that's when I have interest too. Whenever there's like third party Transformer stuff that has like a Nintendo kind of edge to it, like the Mario and Luigi 2-pack that TFcon had one year. Oh, I was buying that. I bought two of them, because I was like, that's really cool. When they did the RC that was like an homage to Ghost in the Shell, Masamune Shiro, I bought that. I'm like, that's really cool. When they do like that kind of stuff that I just don't see Hasbro or Takara doing, I buy that kind of stuff. I'm just looking at some of the others. They did a Machine Wars homage. I bought that because, gosh, I don't know whenever they're going to do Machine Wars. Although you never know nowadays, you know, you never know. Link CW, go to a bookstore and sit and read the book, go home and not buy one. Well, that I see a lot when what was it, Chapters and Indigo, when those were really predominant. A lot of people would go into the bookstores and they would just buy the book. They wouldn't buy the book, they'd find, and that's when they stopped putting chairs, because all of a sudden if they start putting chairs in the store, it's almost like you're asking for people to take the book, go there, read it, and then leave, you know? So it is what it is. You have to be smarter with that. People will always take an opportunity to take the cheapest route. They always will. If they could get an experience from a product without having to make a transaction of money, they will do that. So as a business, you always have to protect yourself of that. And I feel sorry for some guys that have to go through that headache. Uh, First guy says, "Oh, Ghost in the Shell is awesome." Yes, it is. Yes, it is very awesome. Masamune Shiro. Long before I saw Ghost in the Shell, I saw Tank Police, one of his first creations, and I was like, some good stuff there. It was one of the first animes I rented on VHS. It's probably in like my top 7 or so, along with Akira and Rama One Half and a few others. But uh, Link CW, that was a reference to people touching dealer tables. Well, what was the problem? Does someone not understand what I meant? Yeah, it's just for people, when people, because too many times, like I see, got a shout out to Alex Bickmore, aka Super Toy Archive. He was like a staple at BotCon back in the day, and his table was like almost 90% loose figures. But the thing with Alex is Alex also has a short temper. So many times people would literally come up to his table, pick up like a Japanese G1 figure, and then start transforming it. And then Alex, who has no chill, would be like, "Are you buying that? Yeah? Then this isn't a playpen. Get the hell out of here." You know? And then people would be like, you know, and there's a lot of weirdos at TFCon sometimes that they just don't get it, man. And Alex didn't have patience for them, but his table was like a playpen for them. It's like, oh, look at all these toys I could buy. But they don't buy anything, so I feel sorry for him. But it is what it is. Let's see. The first guy says, "I would love to see Hasbro try their hands at Animorphs again." Well, the guy who was Iceman in the X-Men movies, what was his name? The actor. He retweeted one of my Animorph tweets once. God, what was his name? Anyways, he said he was interested in doing Animorph stuff again in the future because he was in the Animorph show. So anything's possible. If they bring back the Animorph show and Hasbro wants to do stuff with the Animorphs brand again, which I believe is owned by Scholastic. Look, if they did transforming element stuff with the Dungeons and Dragons brand with their dicelings, I could see them doing something with Animorphs. Bring that back. Aaron, how did those do? Those didn't do very well, though, unfortunately. Had like a wave and a half before it got canceled, unfortunately. Unfortunately. Abraham says Appleseed, that's another great one, and Black Magic M66 were good too. Appleseed was really good. Kaz with the $2 super chat. So tired of seeing people want Omega Prime for HasLab. Well, you won't have to worry about that, Kaz, because Mark and Evan said, and BMAX said it too, Hasbro would not want to do Optimus Prime characters for HasLab. They rather save that for retail because retailers want leader characters like Optimus Prime. So you'll probably see much more obscure stuff. You won't see Super God Fire Convoy, Goto Fire Convoy, aka Omega Prime from RED there. I would not worry about that. Sean Ashmore, thank you. Thank you. Because I remember I posted some, you can't even see them, my Animorphs displays in the center. Um, I posted some Animorph stuff because I bought like an Animorph board game with trading cards or something, but it had like Transformer branding on it with it from Hasbro. And I posted it, and Sean Ashmore, for whatever reason, saw it on Twitter and retweeted it, which I thought was funny. And then he said like a comment like, "Oh, I want to do a Animorphs revival," and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." So, and that was like a couple years ago. I think that was before the Big V, because I remember I found that board game at a thrift store, and I was like, "Oh, that's really." I think I shared it. Did I share it with you guys? I think I showed the cards or something once. I don't remember. Everything meshes together. Everything meshes together. But yeah, thank you, Sean Ashmore, James, and First Guy and Patrick. Lord Soundwarp with I don't want to miss the question. Everything's popping up here. With our loose, we use plastic clamshell bubbles, mostly to keep it easy to transport and everything. Well, that's why a lot of guys, they put them in Ziploc bags, because if it's a Ziploc bag, they also can't mess with it. You know, they can't play with the figure, which is usually the easiest. What was my friend Robbie used to? He called it the Geek Shield, I think it was called, or something. The Nerd Shield. He put all his. He doesn't sell Transformers. He just sells action figures like Marvel and DC. But he says when you put them in the plastic, it's the Geek Shield. They can't like play with the toy because it's stuck in a bag. That's what he used to say. Plastic Junkie was his name. I think his YouTube channel is still active. The first guy says, I just played Quantum Break on the Xbox PS game that's starring Sean. Pretty fun game. I am not familiar with that one at all. I am not familiar with that at all. That one. Link CW says Animorph just reminded me of Human Beast Wars, Rafflecopter. Uh, someone said you know how long you've been on the internet by how you type LOL or ROFL, rolling on floor, laugh out loud. Uh, love my robots better. You know what? It was ambitious, the line. Um, I will say that. Uh, the execution for the human modes was not very good because there was so much animal kibble hanging off of them that it didn't, like, there is not a single, and I own almost all the Animorph toys. There's not a single one that looks good. Maybe Tobias's Hawk, but from like Hawk human mode from one angle. That's about it. All of the others are really rough, especially the female character ones, because the way that they would have to do the female hair, they tried to merge it with the animal hair, and it just never looked normal. Didn't look natural, so it always came out looking kind of weird. It was a very bizarre line, very very bizarre line. But it's like, hey, Beast Wars was hot. Throw, at that same time in the '90s, throw that Transformer emblem on it. You can move more product. You know. Joseph Ritter, humans should never be in Transformers. Well, I always feel that Transformers shows usually benefit more from an absence of the human presence, meaning that they don't steer the story. It's okay to have humans, but they can't be the focal point of the story. You can't, like, I think the big mistake with a lot of Transformer series is that use humans, with the exception of Master Force, but Master Force is an anomaly. Because that's all humans. Like there's no sentient robots except for a few rare exceptions. Unless you count the pretenders themselves, but you know what I mean. It's uh it's something where you look at Beast Wars, no humans. Unless you want to count the proto-humans, but they're not steering the story. You look at G1, the humans are there, but they're not steering the story. If Spike and Sparkplug, and then if you jump to the '86 movie, if Spike, Sparkplug, and Daniel were not there, it doesn't change the story. You know, that's the big mistake with Transformer series is when the humans are steering the story. I think that hurts it. It hurts it a lot because you're trying to sell the robots. That's the problem I find with Earthspark. Earthspark really wants to sell you on the human element, And then next thing you know, you're trying to sell the human characters as figures. And like already Robbie and Mo, there's going to be, they already have the two figures with the spin changers. Now there's going to be two other figures with the combiners. There's a role play, cyber sleeve. That's a lot of role play items and human related items that, and honestly, it's not my game. It really isn't. It really isn't. And it's something that I rather like you focus on the robots because the robots are more marketable. There's something that if one of those robots really catch fire in terms of popularity, that's something you could build on and revisit even in lines that are not related. Like what happens if Robbie or Mo become super iconic characters and everyone loves them? They're never going to use them in a new reboot series or movie. That's kind of the reality of it. Is someone spamming in the chat? Someone's telling me? Guys, guys, guys. Adios, mi amigos. Where we gotta go? The one day I don't have, let's see, we will get rid of you. Goodbye, my friend. Have a good day. Anyways, um, let's see. Joseph Ridge says my perfect series is Transformers never went to Earth. Well, here's the thing: Beast Wars. There is no human element. Every look, Cyberverse would technically be your perfect Transformers series in a lot of ways. Yeah, they did go to Earth. No humans in Cyberverse. I love Cyberverse. I think Cyberverse is a fantastic series. You know, fantastic series, and no human element. That way you could just focus on the product. It's just a shame that Cyberverse's product wasn't aimed at an adult demographic with a collector element to it. You know, to me, like again, Master Force did it right. Master Force was like, hey, if we're gonna go human element, we're gonna go full on human element. And it was a Sentai series, it was like a Sentai Toku series that was animated in a lot of ways. And it was unique. See, Quick Randy, Sorry is the best human. Spoiler, Sorry isn't a human. Sorry is Cybertronian. So even in that case, everyone says, oh, I love Sorry. Well, spoiler, she's Cybertronian. She's a Cybertronian that scanned a human. So she's a pretender, if anything. So it's Sorry doesn't even count. That's the problem. Like to me, like I liked Kicker. I thought Kicker was a good thing. And he didn't steer the story too much. Like if Kicker wasn't there, I don't think it would have changed too much the story of Energon, aka Superlink. Where if you look at the kids in let's say Armada, if they weren't there, that changes the story completely. There's a lot of moments where the kids are crucial to the story moving forward. You know, same thing with like let's say again Earthspark. Earthspark is just like Earthspark is they just looked at Armada and went, oh, kids go into a cave, activate a thing, which then wakes up another thing and then bonds with them. The and they're tiny too. The Terrans are just the mini cons. So instead of it being Carlos and Rad finding some kind of element, in this case, the minicon chip, and then touching it and then activating everything and sending a signal. It's the same kind of writing trope. And when you write those kind of writing tropes, you right away say off the bat, these kids are going to be part of the show for the long run. And it's very hard to write them out without it being weird, you know? Uh, Quick Randy then says, "Oh yeah, sorry, Titan class when we get our Titan class 1x1 scale movie wheelie." That's the one I was waiting for. I was like, I'm surprised Radio Shack when they had that license with Hasbro with the Transformer stuff, they didn't make a 1x1 scale RC, I mean remote control RC wheelie Transformer Revenge of the Fallen. Titan class one, I don't know, you'd have to talk to Japan with their sexy robots. They'll do something weird for sure. Where are we at? The first guy also says Unicron trilogy did a solid job with character development of the kids. They did a good job with in during Armada with Alexis and Starscream. I think that was a really good one. Obviously, all of that character development was unfortunately thrown under the rug by the time we got to Superlink Energon. Different writers. I remember reading somewhere that it was one writer halfway through Energon, and then that one writer only intended it for it to be a 26 episode series in Japan because they do like 32, 26, 52, or 13 like runs. So he was like, "Oh, he wrote it to be like a 28 to 32 episode, 28, and then those extra episodes would be filler clip show episodes." But he wrote it to be a 28 episode series, and then when they found out, oh, it's supposed to be a 52, his wife wrote the other half of it, and that's why it has this weird disconnect, and it felt like an extended story or something. Like I remember reading something like that. This was the old TF websites. I remember there was an interview about that. I know I missed something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember reading something like that. Um, T-Former. She's partially human with some Dax DNA, but she does fill the human role of the series depending on specific details. Well, initially, yeah. The thing is with Sari is, you know, we're all like, oh, like she's so cool. And the reason why we celebrate her is because she could use the key and the key has a reaction with her. But it's what a surprise. It was because she was Cybertronian all along. So it's one of those things where it's like, that's, all the things of why you like her and why she worked with the show was because of her connection with Cybertronian stuff and from a writing standpoint, which I'm pretty sure, I mean, the old books back in the day, these were the old books by IDW where they planned in advance like that first arc of story and literally ended it with that. That was the last page, you know? The end for now. And there never was anything past this issue. Let me just reach it over there, put it back. So I got to grab a book. And I just screwed up the camera. There we go. Where are we at? Project A-ko is one of the first VHS tapes that I watched. This is Roman. Project A-ko is one of the first VHS that you watch, and I watched it along with Bubblegum Crisis. Bubblegum Crisis is fantastic. Hurricane is an amazing opening scene. Might as well be Streets of Fire. Kaz with the $2 super chat. The Energon writers made Cyborg 009 2001 anime. That was actually not bad. I actually watched that. It was a good update. But I heard it was two separate writers. Like there was two like major writers for the story. Neither of them watched Micron Legend, aka Armada. So the character development of Alexis and that connection to Starscream was totally lost, which I thought was a huge missed opportunity. Huge, huge, huge missed opportunity. Because imagine like you have this whole connection with her with Starscream and Armada. Now she's an adult. Starscream's back and at no point you ever have them interact. And I thought, wow, that's unfortunate, That's really unfortunate. Timmy K. Poindexter Esquire, Proto, what is the delicious meal you are having later today? So I went to the States and they had the Delicio pizzas, those big pizzas there. I went to this closeout, uh, like, what is it called? Giant Tiger. Went to this closeout Giant Tiger place, and you could get the giant Delicio pizzas, the ones where you just put it in the oven with the pan already, and they were $1 each. Man, Americans with their cheap food sometimes. So I was like, I'd be stupid not to buy 3 of these. So I bought 3 all dressed Delicio pizzas. I'm going to throw one in the oven after we're done. Extremely unhealthy, greasy eating, but at $1, how could I say no? How could I say no? Every time I go to the States, I always buy the illegal food, as I call it. The illegal cereals. There's cereals that are not allowed here that are in Canada, um, especially like when it comes to sugar cereals. So in Canada, we have a rule where our cereal can't be more than 11 grams of sugar or more. So all the sugary cereals are modified or have less sugar and are not as good. So if you buy, let's say, Count Chocula in Canada, it's not the same Count Chocula in the States. If you buy Cocoa Pebbles in Canada, it's not the same Cocoa Pebbles in the States. The real deal is the United States one. Unhealthy. Ugh. So if you want to, you want to find the good stuff, that's it. Where are we at here? T-Formers 2002. I know Carlos and Alexis gets dropped pretty quickly from Energon Superlink, but surprised that Rad sticks around the most for the second half with Dr. Jones. I think because they just, Superlink, Energon, the way that they were writing it at the time, and you could really see in reflection to like what other anime was out around that time. Around that same time, there was a series called Gundam Seed, and that was getting a lot of attention. Regardless if you like Gundam Seed or not, that's a whole other discussion. I don't want to go into the Gundam talk, but Gundam Seed was very popular, was being well received, and it was a series that had a very dark edge to it, but it was a mecha series, and Energon was kind of emulating that. Energon was probably the closest we got to a Transformer series that clearly was planned to work for an older adult male Japanese audience. Kicker was older. Look at all the previous protagonists. You have to go all the way back to Spike because it was always adolescents that were the kid characters. 5-year-olds, 7-year-olds. You never had like a 16-year-old or a 19-year-old or an adult that was the main human element. Again, outside of Master Force, but again, separate entity. So, because you had Spike, okay, that was like the teenager. And you can even argue, like, Spike's working on the oil rigs. What is he, 16 years old when he met Carly, who was going to college at the time or university? So maybe 16, maybe 19. It's variable, that one, if you really read in between the lines. And then afterwards, Daniel, kid. Fast forward to even Master Force. When you look at Shooter, that's the kid character. You go to Victory, Yuki, that's the kid character. Not Yuki, John, that's the kid character. When you go to Zone, you have Akira, that's the kid character. You jump then all the way to, again, Beast Wars doesn't have that. But then when you get to Robots in Disguise, Car Robots, Yuki, that's the kid character. Armada, you got Rad, that's the kid character. Always kids. And then here's, Kicker, teenager, could take care of himself. And they were trying to market to the Gundam viewers, which usually skew older, usually older market. And I appreciate what Superlink was trying to do. It's just a shame that the writing didn't match up with it too much, which is a shame because it wasn't a terrible series, but it is probably the weakest of the three of the Unicron trilogy in terms of writing, in my opinion. Timmy K. Poindexter says, no Lucky Charms. So yeah, even Lucky Charms in Canada. So our Lucky Charms, the marshmallows, are made with, what's it called? Chlorophyll, which is found in plants, and it makes an artificial sweetener. So if you actually eat Lucky Charms from Canada and you go to the bathroom, number 2, it's going to be green, like green. It's pretty crazy how green it gets because of the chlorophyll. It actually changes your poop. It's weird. Where Lucky Charms in the States doesn't really do that. They don't have the food coloring and the chlorophyll in it as much. They use actual white sugar. So whole other story. But both are terrible for you for different reasons because using chlorophyll and artificial sweeteners is not good for you either. I liked the cereal that I always buy when I go to the States is Kix. I don't know why it's not allowed in Canada, but it's a low sugar cereal, and I always kind of liked Kix, so it's a pretty good one. And Kicker did have the girl. That was Misha. I actually have one of her Wonder Festival dolls. They made a doll of Misha from Wonder Festival in 2003 in my collection. T-Formers 2002 says, I never found Kicker that annoying even in the dub. Well, I've always said that I think in the Western fandom, the reason why fans didn't like Kicker was because of the dub. They didn't like, I think it was not Matt Hill. Who was his dub actor? Matt Hill was Carlos. But a lot of people didn't like his dub voice actor. I watched it in Japanese. I loved Kicker. I have his Japanese version of his figure, his American version. I think he's a cool character personally. I never understood the hate. I don't wouldn't say Devastator green. I'd say more T-Formers 2002's the top half of his super chat there green. Brad Swale. There you go. That's it. I met him. He was a cool dude. Didn't have any problems with him. He's done a lot of other anime stuff, but I'm not a big anime dub guy in general, unfortunately. But when I get autographs, I'm like, oh hey, this guy's gonna be here. Sure, I'll get an autograph. You know, Van Hope loves Kicks. I like Kicks. I don't like, and it's not a sugary cereal, but we don't have it in Canada, so I picked that one up. Like we don't have pork rinds in Canada. So there's a lot of things you could pick up there that we don't have here. So I always go by the supermarket, see what's popping in a potato chip aisle that's literally the size of the Barbie section of the toy aisle in any Walmart. It's huge, the potato chip section. Some cat, how you doing, my friend? Uh, he's always an impatient and kicking everywhere, everywhere, everything. Well, it's in his name. It's definitely in his name. But that's the typical hot-headed teenager kind of trope that exists in anime. If you watch like the Japanese version of Power Ranger series, is every so often the Red Ranger is that guy, who's the main character. They either make the Red Ranger the buckle down, perfect leader, or the hot-headed, young leader character. Probably a good example of that was Deca Ranger, which was Power Rangers SPD in America. Could probably see that. I don't know how the American depiction was. I didn't watch the American version. I watched the Japanese version of SPD, so I don't know how to tell you on that one. Oh, it's true. Brad was the voice of Amuro Ray from the dub of Gundam 0079. The only reason why I know that is because I had a friend, I tried to get him into Gundam, and he doesn't read subtitles, so I had to rent the Gundam movies, but the dubs, like the three of them of the 0079 original Gundam stuff. And they weren't bad. It wasn't bad, the dubbing. I will admit, it wasn't that bad. 0083 too, because I rented those also to show them. I didn't see the dub of 0080 or 8th MS, though. This was at the time when Bandai Visual had their own in English dubbing, like in house. And this was in the 90s, VHS rental era. You know, good stuff, good stuff. Someone say dirty pair. Oh my God, we only have 8 minutes left. Wow, we flew today, man. We flew today with the super chats and everything. Hey, if you got more super chats, get them in before we're done today, because this is the last live stream. Because next week we're not going to have a live stream. I would love to look. I'm going to bring the laptop with to the States. I'll bring it with more so just for communication reasons, because I don't want to have to pay data on my phone to have to do internet. It's better to just steal the Wi-Fi on the old laptop. I'm gonna bring my laptop with. It does have a webcam on it, but I'm not making any promises that we're gonna do any live streams on the Saturday night. Uh, it's been a while since I've been in the States, so we're probably gonna be busy doing all kinds of stuff. Um, so it's something where I'll be back next week for sure, the week after that, but just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, because the big return to cons, big return, long, long overdue, long overdue. Where we at here? Lizard Sphere X. Didn't see you come in, brother. Or the guy that gets shot at the end of the series and bleeds out. And what is it? Oh man. And bleeds out. Oh my God, why is the mouse not working? There we go. And bleeds out and not interrupt his friend's wedding. I must have missed that. See, Death Note, I read the manga. I never once watched the show or the anime. I just read the manga version. That was a heavy read. Reading that back in the day, everyone was like, "You got to read Death Note." Never watched the manga. Watched the anime though, or the live action. They did a Japanese live action version. I never saw that one too. Supposedly it had a different ending. Uh, yeah, yep. But so yeah, so that's the deal. Not going to be here next week, so I apologize for that. Um, like I said, it's pretty much going to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday is the con. So you're not going to see anything from me for those 3 days outside of maybe some social media posts on Twitter and, over there. So go check that out. Monday, my flight leaves early in the morning, so maybe if I get home in time, I mean, it's a 3-hour flight from Florida back to Montreal. Maybe I'll pump out a segment. I'll see how I feel if I'm not extremely tired, but we'll see. Jetman. Jetman's one of the best. Jetto man. JR Mina, have a safe trip and enjoy the con proto. Well, thank you, JR Mina. Well, you should come down to the States, man, or at least to Canada. Canada's where it's at. Come down to Canada. A lot of Filipinos in Eastern Canada. Let me tell you, especially in Montreal. Montreal, I swear, like in high school, there must have been like, I think every grade had at least like 5 Filipino guys. There was more Filipinos than Chinese or Japanese or Korean. A lot of Filipinos. It was very familiar. Like Montreal is such a huge Filipino community that we had Filipino channels on TV. We had 2 Tagalog channels, although there was a lot of English on them, which I always found fascinating. There's a lot of English, and that's where I watched a lot of anime too, because they would play it. Lord Soundwarp, how do you feel about the first MPG project finally wrapping up soon? I'm actually like Raiden, and that he was received. Well, I think it's great. I almost feel like this is just my personal opinion. Let me just grab first one here. It's just the box. Um, I personally feel that this isn't even like it's I understand we call it masterpiece MPG, but I almost feel like this was just an excuse for them to be able to do something because when you put them next to Combiner Wars, they're only slightly larger in terms of like the robot mode and everything, the combined robot mode. And I personally feel this was just their excuse to make a Combiner Wars Raiden just with more budget, more articulation, more parts, more pieces, rail track and all of that, you know? But at the end of the day, like you squeeze the budget a little bit and it could have been a Combiner Wars one, but there is no way that John Warden during that Combiner Wars era would have been able to convince Hasbro to put out 6 trains at one moment out there in the market. Hey, we're going to put out 3 bullet trains and 3 traditional trains out there. So it's something where, and I love trains, but it's just, I think it worked for the Japanese market. They were able to make something that works. What would be next? I don't know. Because if they did something that was similar to this, I think it would be too small compared to like what we got with, say, Titan Class Devastator, Titan Class Bruticus, not Bruticus, Predaking. I think they should do the next time we get a combiner, and it's the same thing like what they did with Menasor, bigger, bigger. You got to go bigger. And if you do it with Masterpiece and you make it bigger, it's going to be expensive, you know? I want to see that rumored box set that they're going to do of Raiden that's going to be with all the Diaclone colors. That's the rumor I keep hearing. So I want to see that. We got a $2 super chat from Kaz. We needed a full TF show with Energon's 2D animation. Yeah, well, whenever they did have 2D animation, it looked really good. That's for sure. Oh, we got a gold super chat. We got a gold super chat. Here's a good one. I didn't know you watched Power Rangers. I have quite the huge Power Ranger display outside of this room. I'll even get into that in a moment. Other than Mighty Morphin, no, I watched a lot. Uh, Not to make you feel old, but SPD was the first Power Ranger show that I watched as a young child. I was in, so when Deca Ranger came out, I was in just finishing up college. And so, of my favorite of the Power Ranger Western side, I mean, I have a nostalgia for Mighty Morphin, obviously. I really like Zeo also. And I didn't hate Turbo. Like, people always hated on Turbo, maybe because I'm a car guy and I liked vehicles. I didn't hate Turbo. On the Japanese side, the Sentai side, I love Jetman. I love, my favorite is always going to be Deca Ranger, and Deca Break is my favorite Ranger of all time. I really like Geki Ranger is really good. Even if you go into the more older stuff, Flashman is really good. Well done, Flashman. That one. That's probably the oldest one. That's the best one of the bunch. Like Flashman. Then you get into Jetman. Turbo Ranger's okay. And Turbo Ranger, not in Power Rangers Turbo. Turbo Ranger, but not Car Ranger. Not to confuse anybody. Um, yeah, I'm a big Power Ranger guy. I love Power Rangers. I have a huge display. I have Pyramidas, big old Pyramidas. I got him because Gold Ranger is pretty cool because it was Jason at one point. So I thought that was rad. Um, I love Power Rangers. How could you know Power Rangers for someone like me who is old? You have to understand. Love Transformers growing up, and then when Transformers went away, yeah, you had the Ninja Turtle era, but there really wasn't anything that replaced Transformers during the Ninja Turtle era outside of a little bit of G2. But Power Rangers was another big giant robot thing that you can enjoy. And because I also love Godzilla and Ultraman, it was a match made in heaven. And it was on TV. Sign me up. I loved it. But I have quite the Power Ranger display. I was lucky because I had a very good Chinatown, like a bootleg Chinatown store near where I lived with my parents, and they had so much Japanese Sentai stuff. And I thought I was getting like not Transformers. I thought I was getting Power Ranger stuff from the future because like they would have the Thunder Megazord stuff, which was Die Ranger. They had it way before we even knew this stuff existed. This is pre-internet. So they had the Thunder Megazord stuff, and I was like, "What is this? Why is there a Green Ranger on the main cast and not like the extra guy?" I didn't know that Power Rangers was part of something that was around for like 14 years prior. So it was wacky stuff. Wacky, wacky stuff. And then what same thing, they had the Car Ranger stuff, and I got that in advance. Then they had older stuff. They had Five Man and Turbo Ranger stuff, and I'm just going like, what is this? And then of course there was a magazine called Sentai Magazine. That's literally what it was called, which I don't know if it was available in the States, but it was available in Canada on magazine racks. And it was this magazine that was dedicated only to Ultraman, Japanese Sentai, Power Ranger stuff, and Godzilla, and it was called Sentai. That's literally what the magazine was called. And it was just the coolest thing because you would open it and it was like the cheat sheets for what was going to be Power Rangers the next year. Because you'd be like, oh, here's all these suits for Mega Ranger, which is going to be what the suits will be next year for Power Rangers. And you'd show it to your friends at school and you'd be like, this is what the Power Rangers are going to look like next year. And like it was cool. Cool stuff. Cool stuff. Uh, Bioman. Bioman was okay. Bioman was okay. I think I always felt like the first really good of the old series stuff that really took off. I feel like Flashman was like the first one. Really, what that was the first one that had really like dark storytelling elements and like killing humans no problem. Like you could kill innocent bystanders no problem. A lot of plot twists and really good stuff. Like it. Turbo had the coolest suits and helmets. I love Turbo. I love the designs. Yeah, let's ignore Justin. I don't want a kid character either, but I mean, I love the designs. Abraham remembers that magazine. There you go. So it was available in the States, I guess. Do I have the Thunder Source Megazord? No. So of the vintage stuff, I have the original run of Mighty Morphin stuff, this and that. I have an original Titanus, and I try to collect this and that when I find it cheap. I had a Thunder Megazord. It was in my personal collection. Someone offered me $300 for it. And at the time, I had eBay. I knew that it wasn't worth that. So I gladly took the $300. I don't remember what I used that $300 for, but I definitely probably used it on Transformers back then on eBay. And this was like early 2000s, I want to say, late 90s, early 2000s. And Thunder Megazord still to this day complete is not a $300 item. So I needless to say I walked away happy. Definitely. Oh man, we're already past the time. I'll answer these last few. Wizards for XA, not so much that they could do with that. Of course, they could go Mighty Morphin first. And okay, he's talking with someone else. Cringe McCringle heading out for the night. See you guys next week. Well, Cringe, I'm done too. So Wizards for XO Proto, you hear Power Rangers is over with. 30 years isn't bad. Well, it's just because the problem with Power Rangers is that you know, it relied heavily on having that tooling and engineering and suits and footage and all that stuff from another origin. And when you had Bandai of America putting Bandai of Japan stuff in the market, that was fine. The moment Hasbro got the rights, I knew the writing was going to be on the wall because Hasbro would not be able to play with that. Sooner or later, Bandai is going to be like, hey, man, like you can't bring this stuff over. Like you just can't. So that was the big issue. So I knew that I always thought either they were going to make their own stuff from scratch, which they did, and then ride that out forever, which is ridiculously expensive because now you have to film all your own footage, all your own giant robot stuff. It just wasn't feasible. It was, Haim Saban who brought over Power Rangers. If you look up Haim Saban's history, this guy became a billionaire just taking other people's stuff and repackaging it. And I'm not just talking Power Rangers. He would take, the European market doesn't have Michael Jackson songs. I'm going to be the guy who brings over Michael Jackson songs and repackage it for that market, for France, for Europe, for here, for anywhere. And same thing, like he would, oh, hey, I'm going to take this, repackage it here. So that was the good thing with Power Rangers is, all you had to do was film a few, white people, human Western scenes, as I'll call it. Obviously Power Rangers is a diverse crew, but let's be real. You get the nice white people, like homogenized, environment as opposed to the Japanese homogenized environment, and write a story around that. The juice bar, the school, the Saved by the Bell format that they were trying to do at the time. And then you worry about all the action stuff and the suits and the transformations and everything for the Japanese. You're going to just take that footage. Look at Pokemon and its success. Look how low cost that was. Bring over the anime, translate it, dub it, bring over the toys, repackage it, maybe change some safety standards, and that's it. Super cheap. But yeah. And the answer to the last question, which was Tommy or Jason. Um, Initially, I thought Tommy was the coolest thing in the world, but as I got older, I found Jason was probably the better dude of the two, in my opinion. I thought he was the cooler character of the bunch. And him coming back as the Gold Ranger was cool. Then him coming back in Forever Red, that anniversary series, which if anyone's never seen Forever Red, pretty sure someone uploaded it. That was during Wild Force. Really good too. Tommy's cool, but Jason will always be a little more above Tommy in my opinions. Tommy's still cool though, but I also like Zach. Zach was also kind of my favorite too. So those guys were always, OG, always good stuff. Anyways, guys, that's it more or less. I think we're done for tonight. We went a little over with Power Ranger talk, but it all mixes together. So thanks again, everyone, for coming by. Thank you for all the super chats, everyone who supports the podcast with super chats. That's really cool. Again, reminder, next week I will not be here. So I will be at TFcon Orlando. If you are in Orlando or the Orlando surrounding area, come on down. I will be there. You can shake my hand, take a photo, buy some art from Aaron Archer. Hopefully I'll have a bunch of these ready for you guys if you want to pick up the exclusive Optiness Prime. I'll have an update with this more later this week, knowing how much inventory of it I'll have available at the show, for people to pick that up too. But yeah, thank you all for listening. Thank you for coming by. Thanks for all the beautiful super chats and questions. And I'm just going to enjoy the rest of the night. Take care of yourselves, your loved ones, your families, and everything like that. The world is not as negative a place as it is. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on social media, and everyone's yelling at each other, and there's all kinds of stuff. Like, just put that stuff aside. Go hug your loved ones. Go hang out with your best buddies. Go chill. Get out there. Enjoy the world, because it's not as bad as you think it is. And it's just a lot of horrible people fighting, both on top level and the bottom, about silly things. I'm out of here, people. I'll talk to you later. And as always, roll out.